Greetings, welcome to Self-Assessment 8 question 2. In this question they give us the function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 88t that gives the height in feet of a golf ball after t seconds. Round answers to 2 decimal places as needed. All answers must include appropriate units of measure. So they're going to want a few things from us to make sure we understand really what's going on. In particular, we need to give them the units and give it complete sentences on our answers. So first one is determine the maximum height of the golf ball. Show your work. Write your answer in a complete sentence. Okay, so we can, if we want to, go ahead and put that function into our calculator and see that it is a downward opening parabola. But we also know by just looking at it that since we have negative 16t squared, that the leading coefficient is negative, and therefore we know we have a downward opening parabola, which means that the maximum point is going to be at the vertex of this parabola. That is, if we were to just hack out a rough sketch of this, we know that at time 0, not off the ground yet, we're going to come up and we're going to come back down, where the vertical axis in this case represents height and the horizontal axis represents time, which this is in seconds and this is in feet. Okay, so wherever we find right here, when we find that vertex, that's going to be our maximum height. So if we recall how to find a vertex, well, we've got to calculate h, which is equal to minus b over 2a, and we got to calculate k, which is equal to h of h. In this case, let's do a capital H, because that was what it was given to us. It'll make more sense that way. So let me go fix that up here too. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and figure out what b and a are. So we know that b is going to be equal to 88 and a is going to be equal to negative 16. Remember, again, we're thinking about y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So that tells us that h is going to be equal to minus 88 divided by 2 times minus 16. And when we simplify that, we're going to get back 11/4. Okay, so now we want to plug that into our calculator, because I certainly do not want to work that by hand. So let's go ahead and get the calculator up here. And we know that we're going to take negative 16, going to multiply that by 11/4 squared. And then we're going to add to that 88 times 11/4. And if you take 11/4 and put it into decimals, that's okay. That's probably going to work out fine. Oh, we get back 121. How nice it came out to be a beautiful number. Okay, so that tells us that at 11/4 of a second, let's actually see what that is as a decimal, by the way. So 11 divided by 4 as a decimal is 2.75. So in 2.75 seconds, we'll reach the maximum height of 121 feet. So our k value here is going to turn out to be 121 feet. Okay, so show your work, write your answer as a complete sentence. All right, well, let's do that. So the max height is 121 feet. 121, we use a tick mark for feet, and we're going to say at 2.75 seconds. Okay. How long does it take for the golf ball to hit the ground? Show your work, write your answer in a complete sentence. Okay, well, if we want to find out how long it takes the golf ball to hit the ground, then what that tells us is, or asks for us, is that we need to find out what this particular point right here is. In other words, what is where it crosses the x-axis? What is that value right there? Let's do that in red, because that's an important point. Okay, so fix up my piece here that I erased. So how do we find that? Well, that means that what? We know that at this point, there's some time t such that h is equal to 0. In other words, that the height's equal to 0. So that tells us that what we need to do is we need to solve that 0 is equal to minus 16t squared plus 88t. Okay, so the way we're going to do that, this is a fairly straightforward problem, and we can do it by simple factoring here by bringing out the GCF here. So if we bring out the GCF of minus 8t, we get 0 is equal to minus 8t, and then what's left behind is 2t minus 11. Remultiply that out just to make sure I got that correct, and you'll see you get negative 16t squared plus 88t. Okay, so that tells me that minus 8t is equal to 0, or 2t minus 11 is equal to 0 by the zero product property, which says t is equal to 0 is one choice. Okay, well, yeah, that's over here. That's when we started, before the ball left. Or t is equal to 11 halves. And that's over here. That's the t equal to 11 halves. Here, when the ball is back down onto the ground again. So 11 halves, the time there, if we make that a decimal, they say round to 2 decimal places as needed, that would be 5.5 seconds. It looks like a bunch of 5s there. That is actually an S, really, it is. Let's make that look more like an S by putting an E and a C there and put it parenthetically. So 5.5 seconds. Okay, so it takes 5.5 seconds, which is why I never can get my head up in time to actually see the stinking ball land. I'm just a little slow. Okay, cool. Identify the vertical intercept. What does this ordered pair interpret as its meaning as a complete sentence? Okay, so let's think about what is the vertical intercept and what is its meaning. So if we come over here and take a look, we already discussed what the start of it. That's when, sorry about that, my little pink guy didn't want to go away there. That's this guy right here, right? And we know that that's at 0, 0. That's where our vertical intercept is. But just to remind ourselves, to find a vertical intercept, that means that what? It means that t would be equal to 0, h is equal to what? That's really what they're asking you. And when t is equal to 0, that means you're going to evaluate h of 0. H of 0 is going to be equal to 0. Hopefully you see that that's pretty quick to calculate. So the ordered pair is going to be at 0, 0, which is at the origin, and that means that the ball started on the ground. So the ball was on the ground. I guess they're not going to count the t here. So maybe he's on the ground, he didn't use a t. Okay, maybe this is he's on the green already, and he's or the fairway, excuse me, he's on the fairway and he's trying to get up onto the green. So the ball is on the ground. Good enough. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, determine the practical domain of HT. Use proper notation, include units. Okay, so what is the practical domain going to be? So the practical domain is going to be from here to here, okay? In other words, it's this interval right here along the t-axis. And so that interval along the t-axis, it says it's going to go from 0 out to 5.5, what we found earlier, okay? So another way you could have written that is you could have said, well, this is the set of t's such that 0 is less than or equal to t, which is less than or equal to 5.5. Either of those would be just fine. Okay, what is the practical range of h of t? Well, the ball was probably not below the ground, so the practical range of t is going to go from where? Well, it's going to go from down here on the ground up to its maximum height, which we determined was 121 feet. So that's as large as it's going to go, okay? So in interval notation, that blue line there would be indicated by 0 to 121 and points included, okay? Or again, if you felt empowered by putting it into set builder notation, you could do that. It is a set of h's such that our h's go between 0 and 121. Either one of those would be just fine. Okay, well, hopefully that helped, and not be shy about posting any questions that you need additional answers to up to the quick Q&A forum, or you can message me directly.